people have died in Gujarat over the last few days just because a 21-year-old, in fact, has been agitating for quota for Patels. Now, this has got a lot of people from other communities, whether it's Gujars, also joining in with the demand and saying we should relook at reservations, even we need reservations. So here on Agenda, we have, as usual, a young audience, commentators and experts to talk about how legitimate are these demands and how much a part of 21st century politics is quota politics. Let's just first take a look at what's happened in Gujarat over the last couple of days. So let me just introduce our panel from Ahmedabad. We have Raju Bhai Patel, who is a supporter of Hardik Patel. We also have over here, we have Jitin Jain, one of the young leaders who represents Youth for Equality, and they were protesting during the entire OBC quota campaign, all AIMS, All India Institute of Medical Sciences students. Parthiv Shah, commentator, non-resident Gujarati. We also have Abhijit Ganguly, he's a stand-up comic, talks about current issues. Kacha Ilaya in Hyderabad, Dalit activist. And also over here we have Ajay Jakar, who is the chairman of the Bharat Kisan Samaj and who also happens to be a Jat himself. Now, I just wanted to first start with this entire talking point of quotas, who needs them, and whether it's old or is it still valid politics. Kacha Ilaya, if I can just start with you, as a Dalit activist who's been fighting for the oppressed, when you hear someone like what's happening in Ahmedabad, what's your first reaction to their agitation?
हाँ, अभी बदल दिया इंस्ट्रूमेंट, अभी सुन पा रहा हूँ सर.
Kacha Ilaya, can you hear me? How do you respond to Hardik Patel's agitation?
Hello? Hello? Yeah, it looks like...
Yes, go ahead.
It looks like that there is complete breakdown in Gujarat socio-political situation. The fact seems to be that, you know, at the one end they projected Gujarat as a wonderful model for Indian democracy itself, and here is a situation, a community which consists of more than crore population is which has been actually on the upper layer of the Gujarati society, which has been an agrarian community with a lot of land resource, later on shifting into industry and so on and so forth, is asking for reservations. Now the question is that it is true that the Patels are both rich as well as poor, because if you look at the ground reality of the rural Patel community, they are not well educated at all. One of the paradoxes of this Patel community is that in all India services, in fact, Gujarat has a very minimal representation. Its higher education levels is very, very poor. And Patel's higher education levels is also equally poor, though they have, you know, bottle industry in America, they have all kinds of industries there, but if you look at the lower down population, it really suffers quite a lot. In this context, I think their demand seems to have had some legitimacy, because if the OBC database, census database are released, then we will know which caste stands where, which caste requires reservation now. Then once the Supreme Court cap is removed, about the 50%, then the rest of the problems could be sorted out, including that of the Patels. Now the question is, once the Patels, Jats, Marathas in Maharashtra, and then the Gujars in different, the Jats in even Rajasthan and UP, if they need to be given reservations, the question of Muslims has to be seriously considered. This is where Narendra Modi's government will enter into a huge contradiction. It would not be knowing how to resolve this problem, because the Muslims are much more poverty-ridden, suffering a lot at the ground level rather than more than these Patels and the Marathas in Maharashtra.
I can tell you that as soon as you made your position clear, one of the young people over here, Jitin Jain, was immediately, what happened? Why are you so disappointed and disheartened by what he said?
There is a complete contradiction of what Mr. Kanchana Alaya has been speaking today and his past comments over the reservations. He has always been supporting SC/ST reservations, but he's always been against OBC reservations because they have not faced discrimination in the past. Now today, he's trying to support the Patel community because he knows that Hardik Patel, the fundamental question he's asking is that Patels, despite of being powerful, despite of having good representation in civil services, despite of having good rich people in the society, he is asking for reservation because there are some people who are also poor. The government says that since you have rich people also, we will not give you reservation. The fundamental question is of creamy layer. If Mr. Kanchana Alaya questions the reservation demand of Patels, his own within the own SC/ST community, the long pending issue of creamy layer being taking away all reservation benefits will arise, and that is why today he is trying to hide behind the curtains of this illegitimate demand and trying to support Hardik Patel. What is happening today, the real issue is that we are now facing a reality test of our appeasement policy of last 60 years, where we have been throwing carrots of reservations to all communities in last 60 years.
But they're not appeasing. The government there has said very clearly that you're not getting it, and which is why we're seeing these clashes.
Why is the demand? Because the majority's community is feeling today the reverse discrimination is happening to them, and they are not getting benefits. Now, so today everybody wants to, there is a race to become backward in this country. Everybody wants to have benefits. You give it to, Patels today, tomorrow Jats and Gujars will come to Delhi, they'll hold the entire city for ransom, and there is no end to it. Narendra Modi's credentials as a secular politician who has not used his caste card in the last many years, even in the elections, today he is facing the biggest challenge.
He was projected as an OBC leader.
He himself has not been using that card, but today his credentials will now be challenged and tested in the real scrutiny by Patels himself.
Ajay Jakar, do you agree? Where do you stand? So you're one extreme there, Kanchana Alaya making that clear. You have Jitin Jain saying his piece against the entire, all kinds of reservation. Where do you stand on this?
See, what I think is, what is the genesis of this whole problem is that initially the farmers were farming and they were getting along in their lives, however they were getting along at whatever level they were. In the last around a decade, there is farm distress, and farmers' children don't want to farm. So they go start looking out for jobs. When they go looking out for jobs, they find that there is reservation and they do not get the jobs. And that's why this crisis has come. That's the genesis of this. So to solve the crisis, it's better to make farming profitable so the people don't go out of the farms looking for jobs. Just let me continue. So that is where the problem started. And as a farmer, let me tell you what I really think is important is that there is a need for reservations, but the reservations needs to be based on 3 or 4 fundamental things. One is that if your parents, if the child who's looking for a reservation, if his parents have a college degree, he should not be eligible for reservation 1. Second, if the parents or the grandparents have availed of reservation ever in their lives, one second, let me finish. No, that needs to be put into context that they will not get it. I know many IAS officers and listen, police officers whose children and grandchildren are getting jobs upon jobs.
You're talking about the keeping the creamy layer.
I don't know, whatever you may call it. And the third thing is that you desperately need reservation for ladies and girls, because initially they were less in job because they were lesser in education. But today, listen to this. Today more than 50% enrollment in higher education is of women. So if you need to have reservation, these are the factors I think reservations need to be required on.
Well, you know what, we have missed one point what Hardik Patel has been making. He said, since you are saying there are some rich people in Patel, that is why we need not get reservations. He's saying that you remove caste reservations altogether and you only give it to poor people. What is the answer of that? He is talking the same thing, reservation only for poor people, and I think government does not have answer to this question. And that is the whole thing, that we have been giving reservation to select communities who are
No,
forming vote banks for the government.
Just respond to this. Many people have said that basic agitation of Hardik Patel's, he is fighting against reservation because he's going on saying, if you don't give it to me, take it away from the others. Yeah. Isn't that so? Aren't you wary of that?
No, the question is that there is no there is no question of giving reservations on class basis in India. Indian constitution does not allow that. The reservations have come on the basis of socially and economically backwardness of people. Yes, whether it is Patels or Marathas or Jats or Gujars, they were historical Sudras who did not have the right to have the Dvija, thread and then study in Sanskrit schools, etc., etc. Now, they have been forming communities, they have been hard-working communities, there is no doubt about it. Now the crisis is that how come in a so-called economy of a state, which was projected as the model economy for the nation, has come to lead to a breakdown by a community which was actually one of the top layer richest in terms of Sudra communities. This happened because, as somebody said, that the agrarian economy got collapsed in Gujarat itself, and the entire industrial capital, the top layer of industrial capital is Gujarat, is in the hands of the Marwadis and Banyas. The Patel.
Parthasha, do you want to, do you agree with what he's saying? No, and what Ajay Jakar also said?
No, I think what Ajay Jakar is saying is more or less, I agree with him. But what I also feel is why suddenly this thing has come about.
Yeah.
It's because of agrarian distress.
Yeah, not only agrarian, there is also industrial, the Gujarat has this model of small scale industry, which is going down and the large scale industry is coming. The land is, getting smaller and smaller. The water level is going down. So the point is that there is a lot of distress which is happening. And that's why these people, and suddenly there are 4 lakh people coming on the road. It's not going to be very easy for people to control. And who allowed them to come? I don't understand that also, because it's not so easy for them to gather in such large numbers. So there is something going on. There is not so easy, question to be answered.
Is it just about agrarian distress, or maybe this is just boiled up frustration? Because end of the day, if something like this would happen, just like for example, all general people only just asking for reservation, and there's just the whole, there's a storm coming up and everything. So it will just come up. It just is basis of that.
Before we go to
similar issue of Jat reservation, they have similar problems. The small scale industries were going down in Haryana. They were finding the youth were jobless, and they started asking for Jat reservations. The state, bowed down. They gave them the reservation. The Supreme Court heard the entire issue in the complete detail, and there is a very clear-cut judgment on the Jat reservation issue. The point number 1, what they say is that the constitutions ask for a casteless and equalitarian society. We as a country have to find ways to look beyond caste to give reservations to the needy people. Second, no reservation can be given to any community without any proper justification, survey, study, and it cannot be given as a political compensation or a political promise to any community. Let me
get Raju Bhai Patel in. Raju Bhai, you're hearing all these reactions and the kind of heat it's generated across the country, especially with so many people dying. Do you have any misgivings about the way you all protested your demonstration now, with so much destruction happening?
We are just only discussing about the questions. We are not going for the roots, where it came from, where it's emerged, and how it can be soluted. The solution is not this kind of way. This is the thing when someone is doing just kind of andolans, and then only these political parties are coming into action, and after 2.5 months now this cabinet meeting is held. Why it is not held in the beginning? If this is a question of the country, a question of the future of the country, question of that potential which is going ruin, which is going outside India, it is a question that our youth is not going to be contribute as capable as in our country, but going outside the country, and these so-called political parties are going only for their vote banks.
Okay.
This is not the thing.
Okay. Raju bhai, let me get a quick reaction. Do you think the politicians just left it to fester very long?
No, politicians usually leave things that they will sort themselves out over time, but
They hope that it will sort.
Everyone does that. And the real danger is that we are a young nation.
Yeah.
And if we don't put our house in order, we're going to be an old nation without getting rich before that. You see all the Western countries, you see Japan, you see all the Western countries, the more people are in the older generation bracket, but they got rich before that.
Yeah.
And here is a country which is young, and if we don't put a house in order, we're going to get old after 20 years, but we would not, if we have not got
ignoring a lot of young aspirations.
Yes, and this is the last.
Not even a single guy, single citizen, single community who has got the benefit of reservations, and they have been declared forward or equal to the society. That means the policy has failed.
And what?
The policy has failed.
What is the young aspiration on this issue? We'll talk to our audience in just a bit. Stay with us.